Hello, Assalamualaikum and greetings everyone. Today I'm going to discuss about applied performance practices. In previous chapters, we already discussed on the foundation of employee motivations. And do you remember about the expectancy theory? You remember about equity theory, learn need theory and the four drive theory? So it's all related to the performance, the motivation on how an individuals can achieve the performance. And especially when we talk about the expectancy theory, we talk about effort that leads to the performance, and then the performance to the outcome, and the balance, whether you're satisfied or not with the outcomes, with how you've been commensurate, how you've been rewarded. So in this chapter, we're talking about the performance practices, how a performance is been evaluated and how a person can be rewarded. So that is applied performance practices. And you remember about the extrinsic and the intrinsic motivation that we discussed in the previous chapter. Talk about the motivation, it can from inside and also from the external factors such as money, such as bonuses and so on. Of course, as a human being, we are being motivated by this two, extrinsic and this intrinsic motivation. And how people perceive money and what do you think of money? It all depends on individual, but whatever it is, money is still important in our life. We still need money because we need to survive, but still is not the ultimate thing. Yeah. So why it is important that employee should be rewarded? Because why? If she be rewarded, it will enhance the performance. It could also one way to enhance their motivation as well. And people are being rewarded or being compensated in different ways. Some based on the fixed wages. I think like most of us now are being paid by fixed wages, maybe plus some commissions and plus some other benefits and so on. But what about those who work every day that without holiday? If they're holiday, if the salary will be cut. So that's why different job have different types of wages being given. Yeah. And what about the seniority based reward? Of course, as we go, if you work more than few years, as you goes by in the organization and you work in certain years, of course your salary will be higher than the rest of your colleagues. Yeah. And in order for you to get promotion or bonus and so on, all this, like what they call it, seniority based reward, there are the time that you need to go through job evaluation. They need to evaluate you. And how? And because they have to make sure that what you're doing now is commensurate with what you should get. So that's we talk about that's why a performance appraisal should be always fair. And we talk about the equity theory and the procedural justice. But in this reality, in this kind of world that we're living, what do you think of the performance appraisal? Well, it is up for you to answer then. Then we're talking about the competency based rewards based on the competency that you have, the extra skills that you have. But I'm not sure here in Malaysia do we have that. Maybe for other skilled workers, but it depends also. And what are the advantages actually that leads the employee to learn more new skills, like a salesperson, maybe if they have no more knowledge on other languages, maybe if they are good in Mandarin, maybe they could be given more. Well, it depends. Not all organizations are doing that, but usually it's more towards the performance-based rewards. Can be either individual, team, or organizational rewards. Actually, every year we always wait for the bonus, especially those in the private sectors who would love to have, will be waiting for the end of the year bonus. And there's some also are giving this ESOP or the stock option or profit sharings. Yeah. But in my experience, then every year waiting for bonus is like waiting for, I don't know, some, it's like waiting for years we should be given, like at the end of the years, but they will drag it, maybe in the next year, early of the year. There were times that I only get my bonus, the previous year bonus, I only get it in April itself, then April in the next year. And every time, whenever this performance appraisal, even we already achieve the KPI, but they always say, it's still not enough. We still have to do this. There's lacking here and there. And when we got the bonus, at least you get something. Those people who are just were chasing people around can get 6 month bonus, and those who are working like donkey, difficult to even get even 2 months bonus. Well, that's my past. At least I'm just sharing you my experience, yeah. But before that, I was also in my organization. They promised to give this profit sharing, just like ESOP, employee share option, but it's just lip service. Well, I'm not sure. Of course, there are some other organizations are doing it, but hopefully it will be continued, yeah. And okay, let's discuss, yeah. You can choose any of these questions to discuss among you, okay, and then provide your reflections on it. Choose anyone. Choose any of the questions, I mean, and you can do it in groups or individual. Just to let you, I just want to know what is your reflection on this. Yeah. And how organizations should improve the rewards. You have any idea about that? Well, saying in this textbooks, of course, what we read, but from my other reading says that it should be relevant. It should talk about, take into consideration team and so on, and it should also, besides that, the market, they should have do some market survey on the salaries, so that they know whether are they falling behind or are they the best in the industries. Yeah, but some organizations should also think about, the economic wise, but it's difficult to say because in the current economic situation now. But whatever it is, should remember that employees are human beings. Yeah, fairness and equality should be there. Yeah, the if they think about it, of course life will be much easier. Well, it depends on the situation, but this is how we hope that the organization could improve the reward effectiveness. And besides that, sometimes you need to think about the design of the job itself. Yeah, sometimes some of the job, it can be difficult and they expect more, but actually it's kind of unrealistic. Yeah, so because they need to think about the job itself, talk about the risk involved in the job. Yeah, and how is the flow of the job itself. Yeah, they should have think about it before doing all this, before setting the rewards and so on, what kind of job, what they need to do, what kind of trainings that must be given to employees. Yeah, it should be, all this should be, this job should given the opportunity for the employees to actually improve themselves, can motivate them, can lead them to enhance themselves as well. And when we talk about job design, we go into this job specialization. I'm sure all of you have your own specialization in the organization. But my experience with having this job specialization actually cost me routine job, just been routine, day in and day out, doing the same thing. When I asked for to change in the new department, because I was handling current account department, so until I know in and out, but because of my competency, because of my experience in current account, to I was not being allowed to go to another department, which is outside the branch where I want to handle remittance, foreign exchange. But I've been doing foreign exchange in the branches, but it's just in a small scale, not really going into deeper. But I really like to do that. But they still give me doing this current account, which is I'm specializing in. Actually, it's one of the disadvantages is that it is difficult for if you want to find other job when you're so specialized, difficult for other people's other organization to take me in. But thank God I become an academician because of maybe my experience to look into other issues as well in terms of managing the subjective about my job as well. Can we talk about, and before we move further, because when we talk about the job design, we should understand the characteristic of the jobs. Yeah, so on the job, when the organization creates it, they should know that it should involve with some kind of characteristics. We talk about the skill, the task, the risk factors, and so on, and the autonomy involved. And speaking about autonomy, so it is job should have an autonomy when it comes into making your decision in terms of managing and planning your job. Yeah. So when you have this autonomy, then you can do your job better, and because you have the responsibility, of course, with this autonomy, then you can do better, and you could, and motivates you to be a good employee. But at the time without autonomy, how, when we have this micromanage kind of things, then can you work in that kind of situation? Difficult, right? Yeah. And besides that, organization should look into other social characteristic of the job, because whether this job, of course, interdependence with others as well. Like, like you're working in an organization, marketing, HR, or sales department, and so on. Actually, we're interrelated, yeah, because if we don't have proper management of the HRM, human resource department, then how marketing and other department can work? Because we need somebody to handle, and you know everyone needs each other. And because of that, talk about in terms of whether the job is non-routine or routine job, and needs to understand the risk involved itself. And of course, there are some organization also practice job rotation. Well, it depends actually. But from my experience, I see, from in my subordinates, they have to go through this job rotation. It causes many blunders and hiccups, during the first week. But slowly it will be improved. Because why job rotation is important? Because if something, if another colleague went on leave and so on, they can do other people's job at the same time. If you are too specialized, it can be difficult also, because what happened, especially in the private sectors and in the bank, if no one knows what you do when you go on holiday, you will keep on receiving all this non-stop telephone. Yeah, this is what happened to me before. It's difficult for me to get leave even for the 16 years. There are times I have to come back and teach them, then only I can continue my holiday, unless if I'm outside Penang. But now since I'm here in USM, and since I changed my career, I never been through all this call during the holiday. Yeah, sometimes the office call me just to ask one or two things, but not all the time. Yeah. And what do you think about job enlargement? Yeah, talk about means that we have to do three people's job. The organization love job enlargement means that they can only pay for one, but you have to do like three or four people's job. And what is actually, is it good to have this job enlargement? Is it fair? And what about job enrichment? It says that it gives you some more responsibility in scheduling and doing it more, enrich your job, like before, like previously when I was as a current account officer, my job is just to make sure people's bank in the money and just check, the check validation and so on. I no need to check the image of the check. But after that, they give more. Instead of doing that, they put in more job. It's not enrichment anymore. For me, it's just enlargement. But for them, it say it is better, because when I have this job enrichment, I can have the discretionary power whether I could bounce the check or not. Well, sometimes it gives, and also even I have this autonomy, but actually comes with a lot of responsibility. And there's a lot of answering I need to do to the customers if I ever bounce the check, because sometimes I need to save myself because it involved with money, because there is as if I couldn't get confirmation from the customers about a check whether it's good or not. If I don't get the answer, definitely I would have to bounce the check, because there might be some errors in the check. Maybe there's some, smudge in the check, because this error, there's a lot of risk involved. Yeah, of course, too many things, so I'm not going to tell you in here in this class. But really, yeah, job and this kind of job enrichment gives me a lot of headache at the same time. And when we talk about autonomy, and at the time when we have this empowerment in job, what do you think about job empowerment? So you have the empowerment, but of course you must be responsible to that. It depends, not all the jobs, when people are happy with being given empowerment. I remember in my experience of my tellers, when they were giving the empowerment that they can release the money. I mean, whenever a customer make a withdrawal, a saving account withdrawal, if it's less, if it's like 5,000 and less, they could sanction the check. But if it's more than that, they should give to the officers. But for them, it's a risk. Even though they know it's the same customers, the own customers are came in, but they still feel scared to give the money every time. They need to give to the officer to sanction, even for few hundred ringgits. Yeah, so sometimes empowerment, in order to have empowerment actually, but it should involve with self-determination. But there are some people who don't want to have all this because of the risk involved. It's not everything, any job should be given empowerment. It depends on who you are, where you are, and maybe you can discuss among yourself what kind of job that should have empowerment. Of course, as a lecturer, I have the empowerment and the autonomy. Of course, it comes with responsibility, and there should be a guideline that I should follow, but still I have some empowerment, because definitely it helps me to determine what should I do, and I understand the meaning of my job, and I should understand what kind of competency that I should have, and also the impact with my job. So I need to have all this in my job. Yeah? And what actually influence support empowerment? Of course, our individual factors. We go back to the for the three C's: the complexity, the clarity, and so on. And what about the process of self-enhancement, self-verification, social self? Yeah. So we need to talk about the individual factors, whether we can do it or not, whether we have the self-determination or not. Also talk about the design, the job design as well, and the organizational factors, whether we get the training that we need, whether the organization support us or not, and all it involves. And so this is empowerment should also come when we talk about the self-leadership, means that we become the leaders in what? In our job. Yeah. So in order to become a good leader, so we should also have a self-leadership. Yeah. Because when we talk about empowerment, so empowerment needs to have self-leadership, so that we are responsible with our work. So we know what to do, we know how to set personal goals, we know what to think, what kind of work that we need to, how to plan, yeah, how to design and monitor ourselves, how to make sure whether how we can reward our own self. And so we talk about this self, yeah, leadership, yeah. And how about self leadership? It goes back into the how, what are the factors that influence empowerment. Talk about individual factors and other organizational factors as well. Well, that's all from me today. So just think, yeah, is it empowerment is good, or autonomy? Do we given autonomy or empowerment? What do you think? Give me your thought. So you can choose any of the discussion questions in this lesson and reflect and let me know what do you think. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.